now for the third time in the third season in a row. My mentor, big homie Mark Williams. Mark, for those who do know, for those who don't know, just tell us a quick story about yourself.
Real quick, thank you for having me on for the third time, 3 years in a row. I appreciate the opportunity. My name is Mark Williams, and basically, I run a program called Team Footprints. And basically, we're a training company. Initially, we started our training maybe in 2009 on a full-time basis. Now we're in 24, 25, 26. We're in 24. So I've been doing it for a long time as far as basketball training. I've seen a lot of players come and go. I think the biggest thing that, although training is our biggest thing, we like to focus on now expanding players' opportunities as far as giving them opportunities to get bigger and expand their brand. So we have like a media page that does that as far as promoting players. And then also we do a lot of, again, training, but we also do a lot of blogging. So we've expanded a little
Yeah,
bit from our initial goal of helping players get better.
looking like Steve Jobs out here, man. Y'all scaling it up.
Yeah, we're out not to that level, but yeah, but
Nah,
but
nah,
yeah.
nah. Y'all don't got like 10 trillion credit.
No, not even close. But it's more about us trying to help our basketball community, particularly in the New York City area and New England area, because we feel that the players aren't getting the exposure that they need, particularly nowadays. And when I was growing up, there was a lot of we had daily newspapers that really covered high school sports. Today,
Yeah.
we don't have that anymore. And I understand
Mm.
why the economics attached to it, but we don't have that anymore. So if somebody can train with us and then come with us throughout the whole process, through our contacts, we try to help them as much as we possibly can as far as getting exposure.
I like that. I like that. And in terms of exposure, man, like you said this in your blog, you're notorious for like predicting the future. But right now, the state of women's basketball is in a huge, I would say, increase due to Angel Reese and Kaitlin Clark, and you had a you had a comparison towards them between Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, and
Hmm.
how they're setting up how they set up the NBA for Michael Jordan to come through. They're doing the same thing right now for Juju to come through and
Yep.
be the true star of the W.
Hmm.
How do you feel right now about the current state of the WNBA, and how is that influencing the youth in terms of the women's side?
I think the W is doing a great job as far as getting seen in front of a lot of young ladies and young men for that
Hmm.
point. And Caitlin and Angel Reese, I think, have ushered in a new marketing, promotional avenue for the W to take advantage of it as far as expanding their brand. And the comparison goes like this. From my standpoint, when I was younger in 78, 79, the NBA was considered a drug infested league or whatever the case may be. They were necessarily didn't have any stars to rally around until Larry
Yeah.
Bird and Magic Johnson came in, and that basically, from my standpoint, polarized the two different dynamics as far as race is concerned. Nobody wants to say it, but it is what it is. Larry Bird
Hmm.
ushered in the suburban, middle America type of player from my standpoint, and Magic Johnson, although he was from the Midwest himself, his dynamic smile and great personality and his charisma fit perfect with the LA situation. So that made it where
Mm.
the Boston Eastern, Boston Northeast type of situation, West Coast type of situation.
Yeah.
There was a lot of dynamics going into it, and I think that the Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark situation mimics that to a certain extent. Obviously,
Hmm.
this has nothing to do with their play. This is more about how they've being portrayed within the media. And then you
Yeah.
add in Juju, who I think, although Paige Beckers is dumb nice also, she's going to come before Juju. I just think that Juju's ability to transcend the game, and she has the look that's going to help the
Hmm.
marketing world because she has basically it. She
Yeah.
has
She
the
has
it.
that it factor.
She has the it factor, and that goes big in the media world, particularly today's world is NIL social media driven. I think that that's just going to take the W to another level. And it's not to knock any players that's currently playing, just like Bird and Magic didn't knock the players in the 70s and the 80s, but they just were able to transcend it a lot higher. And then MJ came and took it. Now we're off and running. Now MJ leads to Cole, which leads to LeBron, and who knows what's going to take
Yeah.
it from there. So I think that Caitlin and then Angel are pivotal pieces within the whole W situation moving forward.
Mm. I definitely agree. And then to that, to your background, who you are, what you do, how do you feel similar how we saw on the men's side at one point when training became a big thing in its early infant days. Now you're seeing more people gravitate towards trying to build the next Kaitlin, build the next
Mm-hmm.
Juju, so on and so
Mm-hmm.
forth. Um, with your expertise and your background, how do you educate parents on how to look for the right coaches? Like, how do you feel like they should go about it?
I think this is going to hurt some people's feelings. I think that everyone should be vetted as far as their history is concerned. And I know
Mm,
that being in the business a little longer than most, I've had the opportunity to really see players get better over time, and then in doing
yeah,
so, they've gone on to higher levels of basketball. I think that anybody that walks around now and just opens the door and considers himself or herself a trainer is actually doing the profession a disservice. So, if I'm a parent,
mm,
I would actually do a better job of vetting who they've actually developed and understanding where they came from, as opposed to somebody that's working out with a player that was nice already, and then all of a
yeah,
sudden that person is claimed by that trainer or coach, but in all actuality, they had nothing to do with their development. And I think that we get confused with that as far as social media is concerned, because you see a person work out with one particular person because he or she has a big following, and that becomes their player. In all actuality, that might have been a fake photo op, and it's not necessarily real, and doesn't really transcend to them being a better player in the long term. So I think parents got to do a better job of vetting trainers and coaches.
yeah. I definitely agree. I definitely agree with that to that point. And let's just dive into what you just said. Your long standpoint of being a developer. Let's not even call it coach or trainer. It's just what the role is. It's just you're a
Hmm.
developer.
Hmm.
And we talked briefly on the last podcast about this, your background in coaching college and also coaching high school, and how you're able to take this top-down approach and
Yep.
reverse engineer it to where almost, I'm not trying to like talk crazy, but it's at a 90% rate of like almost everybody that stays with you for more than 6 years as a young kid, they will end up
Hmm.
getting some form of collegiate offer or scholarship.
Hmm.
So just briefly talk about that, like, um, you're not really briefly talk about your process, giving away too much. More so, like how was that really the caveat that changed the game for you in terms of having that experience as a college coach, what these girls look for, and then how you were able to put them in the bum levels that you always talk about on your social media pages.
Yeah, I think that has helped me out immensely. And I graduated in college in 19 whatever, right back in the days, right back
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah,
back in
yeah.
the
Yeah.
day. But immediately upon graduation, I was 21, 22 years old. I got a college job at 23. Now, it was the school that I
Got
was
you.
at already, so I already had connections within the school, but it still allowed me to get out there and recruit,
This is
develop
St. Joe's, right?
this is St. College of St. Joe's in Vermont. Yeah, they've now
Got you.
defunct, but most Catholic schools back, they were all for the most part closed. But small schools. So I was able to recruit, do everything, ran the whole gamut as far as the program was concerned. So I was able to look and see what actually players actually worked on that helped their game. And this is before training was vogue, right? So you
Yes.
look at it from the standpoint of as a college coach, and you got to be able to catch, make layups, pass the
Hmm.
ball, rebound, be in great shape, and obviously shoot. So we did a lot of that stuff, and then we took a program that was basically 7 and 22. And I'm not saying that we're on the Duke level or the North Carolina level type of thing, but we took a team that was 17 and 2. It's gonna be 2 and 22, and
Seven.
then we ended up becoming
Mm.
18 and 11 the next year. And it's all because we recruited the
Wow.
players that fit our system, that as far as being able to catch, run, shoot, and all those things that I mentioned earlier. Now
Mm.
you move forward. Now I end up leaving Vermont, and I end up going to a high school in New York City. Well, I started working at the JV level because there was no openings in the New York City Department of Education position. So I started JV, and then I worked my way up to the varsity level. And you
Hmm.
see the same thing. And so we worked on skill development on a lower level, catching, passing, shooting, and then we were able to move that into the varsity level. And then we ended up having, out of a New York City public school, we had for 1 year we had four Division II players on our one team, and that's
Mm.
rare in the PSAL, New York City PSAL. So we was quite proud of that, and from there we just started. Then I started training, and I started realizing that people were doing some dumb shit, and that really wasn't
Mm.
really relevant to the game of basketball. So it helped me again being a coach. on a collegiate level, high school level, JV level. So I was able to see exactly what's going to translate to the game of basketball. And that's why you see a lot of our players that were trained with us now becoming coaches. And we have approximately
Yeah,
15 to 20 that are currently doing it on a collegiate level right now, and like 5 to 10 on the prep level. So I think that's a
mm,
testament to what we've established as far as drawing a baseline of success based upon fundamentals: catching, passing, layups, running, conditioning, shooting. Those are the things that we harp on, and it seems to work as far as our formula.
for sure. And I'll briefly interject in terms of coaching. Shout out to the assistants. Without that clinic, I think I would have taken uh, being a head basketball coach ever serious. Like you know me, like for a good amount of time. You know me. I love to train, develop, and get to the money. But
Nothing wrong with that.
being around, no, nothing wrong with that. I'm cool with being an assistant coach and have flexibility, right?
Hmm.
But just being there, saying with all the coaches from Albert Morris, St. John's, Adelphi, everybody that was there, and just seeing the energy in the room from every single one, it was like, yo, two things. Like, I can see why, like, they might be a head coach somewhere else. They're really nice at what they do. Like, they're really next up. But secondly, on my behalf, it's like, yo, like, this is what a coach like really is. Like I thought I was nice, but this is different. Like you just tell they're sharp, concise, straight to the point.
Yeah.
Everything's on 100.
Yeah.
You can tell they're extremely detail oriented, extra prepared, very professional. It changed my whole outlook from a guy in a post grad / high school level at a young age to look at it like, man, these are all D1s, high major NAIA assistant coaches and great mid major coaches, and like, dang, dog, like this is different. This is a different level of
Yep.
exposure. And when I left Queens and came back to Atlanta, I mean, I just got on the grind a little bit differently and started taking my craft a lot more seriously. So, to your point, I agree in terms of like just a team footprints collective does give off a lot of educational components from a
Hmm.
fundamental standpoint.
Yeah. Our assistants, coaches clinic started primarily because we wanted to give assistant coaches an opportunity to do what you just said. Get out
Hmm.
there a little bit more, because assistant coaches, for the most part, don't get a lot of love that they deserve. So I felt the need, because I knew a lot of assistant coaches, to give them a platform to do such. And I think that it's growing. I know that we were never going to have something in the New England area where we have similar stuff, where we're going to
Yeah.
have that area be inundated with some of the assistant coaches that I know, and have them, perform in front of other coaches to spread their message. Because if you look at the game now, it's not looking that great for the most part from top to
Hmm.
bottom. I think that
Yes.
the assistants, some of these assistants, and not to be mean, some of the old heads need to get the fuck up out of here. And I hate to say it in that way, um, because there's
Talk
a
to your
new wave
peers.
of there's a new wave of, yeah, my peers. There's a new wave of assistants that are coming up that have a lot of ingenuity, and they're very innovative with the game, and I like them primarily because they're bringing something fresh and new to the game, and the game needs that. And
Hmm.
just like anything with evolution, it's going to change over time. And I think that us old heads have to at some point pave the way for the young generation to come in, and I'm not saying move them out, but uh, usher them out, not necessarily move them out, but usher them out slowly, to where they,
Phase them out. Phase them out. That's what they
phase
say.
them out.
Phase them out.
And I hate to say it that way, but it's just like it's evolution. It's just evolution. At some point, the
Yeah.
king of the young pride takes over the whole
The
jungle.
pack.
It is what
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah,
is.
for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Um,
a fact. That's a fact.
so I think that our assistant thing is really doing a great job. And from our 5 years, we've had, from the assistants, maybe like 6 or 7 of those assistants have become head coaches. So
Mm.
it can be deemed a breeding ground for them to get better too, because as far as explaining chin action, zoom action,
Yep.
defensive principles, it's going to sharpen their skills also, get them in front of people that need to be seen.
I mean, that's true. And you got to think about it. I know it started with you, from you becoming a coach yourself and going to all these different clinics and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. And that's what inspired you. And, now it's not as much as it used to be. It's seminars now, online seminars and stuff like that. But you don't get that same interaction to be there with the coaches and to
Right,
interact with them and to
right,
chop it up and see the live demonstrations. They still do it, but not to the extent when you were coming up and when I was seeing it in middle school and high school, when
Right.
a lot of my local coaches that were on the USA basketball team will go through these same clinics.
Yep. 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 Yeah, my
But
generation, we had
speak,
the Nike. We had Nike. Nike had a lot of clinics, and I would travel around
yes, they
different
did.
areas and do that stuff. I know that they still do it. USA Basketball is doing a lot of it right now. Um,
Hmm.
but ours is free, and in New York
Yes,
City
it is.
is free, and the reason why I think is we're going to keep it free in New York City area is because New York City was once a breeding ground for success as far as basketball is concerned. That's why we were deemed the mecca. I think that we've
For
lost
sure.
sight of that, and we relied a lot on athleticism and ability as opposed to actually breeding coaches that actually teach the game of basketball. So I think that's why I do it primarily for that, so that they can give back to the communities and stuff like that.
I agree. So your point about the coaches, same thing. It's a top-down effect. We talk so heavy about these kids as playing the game wrong, but like it's no different to talk about these kids as bad in this generation, right? And it's like, come on, who are raising these kids?
Yep,
Who's
yep,
teaching these kids?
yep.
The kids are never to blame. The kids can never control the environment, so the environment is ran by adults. Adults have to take a huge part in the accountability standpoint for that matter.
Agreed.
And to your point, I agree too, as well as without great coaches in those areas, there's no way you're going to have any form of success within, I would say, any inner city of breeding any type of high level of basketball.
Agreed. Before we move on, I think that coaching is more than just subbing and yelling at a person. And it actually be a lot of coaching should be done in practice. So when
Hmm.
you get to the game, it's just like relatively easy. Like, and I give you an analogy. I'm big in analogies, boy. I tell you, you ever look at
Yeah, I know.
you look at an orchestra, you rarely see the guy, the conductor. He's just moving, or she, they're just moving their hands, right? You don't see all the stuff that goes to make that in practice, where they're sweating and they're going crazy and they're pulling their hair out. That's how practices and games should be. Practices should be a lot of hard work, a lot of stress. Games should be the easy part. And you look at a conductor, he or she, they just
Calm and
chill,
collected.
calm,
Yeah,
cool, calm,
calm
and
and
collected,
collected.
right?
Yeah.
I think that we get too riled up in games, and we get caught up in
Mm.
emotion, which is fine. I understand that, but at some point, the kid is looking at you as a leader, and if you're unraveling and you're losing your cool, what do you expect a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 12-year-old to really do?
Gonna follow suit.
That's where we got to stop.
Nah, I agree. I agree. And it kind of brings up the next point of AAU, right? And we both know this is kind of like a lingering, I guess, floating topic where people want the NBA to start these academies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because NBA used to have the junior NBA, but that fell apart, right? And
Yep.
still, they're trying to figure it out because this grassroots model is just so, I mean, let's get the truth, it's just shitty. It's just a terrible model. There's no way you can have 12 games or at the minimum 6 games on a weekend, so 1 or 2 practices a week.
Right.
It's just not going to work. Uh, let's just say in your ideal world, if you were able to be under Adam, not Adam, yeah, Adam Silver.
Mm-hmm.
How about calling David Stern? If you were under Adam Silver and they made you the head department of running the youth grassroots portion of American basketball, how would you build these academies? You might be asking.
I would. I'm a if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of guy. And I would
Yeah, okay.
and I would model our youth development like European academies.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah, I would model that where if a kid has any type of inkling of ability, he's funneled into the system where that he's going to do X Y Z for X Y years. He's going to work his way up like it's a Class A baseball. Class A
Yeah.
becomes Class B, become Double A, Triple A, then you
Mm-hmm.
make it to the league, to the majors.
Mm-hmm.
I would funnel with that where the lower level is meant for teaching and playing. You play,
Yes.
but you do small sided games type of situation. You learn that. then you move up, then you move up, and if you're nice, you move up. I think that we get caught up here on our level of development where a kid is good, then he moves to, or she moves to a different level or team, which is fine, but they haven't really learned the game of basketball. So they're really doing the same exact thing that they did on other school or other programs.
Yeah.
So I would mimic the European model. Now, the pundits would say America beats everyone's ass on the youth level. They do. They do. They're way more athletic. They press. They rely on their athleticism. Whereas if you look now, you look on the top highest of levels, you see a lot more.
It's them on the dope side.
Like Europeans. If you look at the league now, you have the top 5 players out. You could go Shea, in no particular order, Shea, Embiid.
Yeah.
Oh, he's American now. My bad. Joker, Giannis. You have I don't know if I said Luka. You have all those players that are at the top of the game. And I'm not saying that they are pervasive throughout the whole league, but if a league was 150 and they say that 125, 150 are European or overseas or non-American, a fourth of your league, and this is the highest of the leagues, is non-American, tells you a lot. Tells you a lot.
Not only that, but also if we're talking top 10, more than half is European.
I mean, hey, what the kid Sar, what did he get from the Hawks? But right, I think he got drafted number 1.
Yeah, Alex Sar. He's the wizard. You talking about Zach?
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not saying that they nice or nothing like that, but the fact that they've drafted number 1 is crazy to me. Like that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I would mimic what they do in Europe as far as the developmental component. I think that we're doing it ass backwards.
To that same point, I mean, the kid last night had 28 against the Knicks, efficient at that, and you can see everything was instinctual. Everything looked like he's been here. But to your point, if I'm playing at the top league of my club on the national level at age, I don't know, 15, 16, 17, get drafted at 18. I played 3 years at the highest level of European basketball against other pros and some Americans that are in this club as international guys.
Yeah.
What's the NBA?
You're right. It's easy. Didn't Luka say before he even played, he said it's going to be easier sport in America than it is in overseas?
Yeah, because less physical.
Less physical, more. I ain't gonna say more space, but it's just the rules. The rules as a whole allow certain things.
Yeah, you can't clog the lane.
Correct. Right. So a lot more space. There's a kid, and I know that he would. And this, I know we gotta go, but Russia's got this kid. He's at BYU right now.
Okay.
My son put me onto him maybe like early in the summer, and he said that this kid plays for Real Madrid. Listen to me, Sean. The BYU, they haven't had this much publicity from my standpoint since my man Jimmer.
Since we know
since Jimmer. And
shout out to Lee.
this kid is good, man. He's a 18,
he got the goods for real?
Nah, he's good. Last name is Demon. Demon. So
fuck out of here.
Maybe I'm saying that incorrectly.
Damon.
Well, he's a demon. I'll tell you like that.
That's why I'm laughing, because just imagine your name is Demon for BIU. I'm Mormon school. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's what I'm saying. That's crazy. That's crazy.
BYU. Wow. But if I'm Nike,
yo, we taking that. We signing that. We signing that.
The demon
wants. The demon wants.
The demon wants. The demon gets. The demon is coming. Right.
Yo, that's fine. The demon is coming. It's crazy.
It's coming. But I know we making joke, but like he's really good though. Like his skill set, you can see like he's been there before. That's they do a good job of development over there in Europe.
Yeah, man. And we're trying to do everything in our power to say, we're trying to make our own model and stuff like that. But I don't believe we're not gonna do it unless we're forced to do it, because it's rules. You know what I'm saying? As long as the money still be
force us though. FIBA, NBA, FIBA.
It will have to be NBA, and that's gonna be hard to do. and be able to have to find a way to put themselves within every single facet of youth basketball, from every single high school, every single private school, every single Catholic league, and every single YBOA, AAU, 3SSB,
Yep, yep,
Under
yep.
Armour, and Nike.
I guess
It will have to be
USA
a stranglehold.
USA basketball probably can have more, can do it more so.
Boom.
USA
That's true.
basketball could probably do it, and but that would cut out a lot of people making money though. So then you wouldn't have different, event planners would get hurt, AAU programs
For
would get
sure.
hurt,
For
circuits would
sure.
get destroyed. When money's
Only
involved,
the top of the top will be selected to run those academies.
when money's involved, dog, Wu Tang told us 40 years ago.
Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Gotta get the money, man.
Yeah, but I don't know. But it's a daunting task in of itself. But I think that is needed. I
Yeah.
just know that I'm older. I hope that I can see it in my lifetime. I'm gonna be completely pessimistic on this one. I just don't foresee it happening as far as a unified situation.
Yeah.
Too much money involved.
Yeah, I feel like the only way it will happen if you just take some bold people that run their own AU organization and just say, we're going to run it this way. That's the only way I see it happening. Yeah, they still play within the schemes of a circuit in terms of it could be sneaker or independent or whatever, but they have their own year-round development program. They have their own, way of doing things for through their gym, and
Yeah,
they got their pipelines to high schools and stuff like that. That's how they run their, academy and stuff like
yeah,
that. So
yeah.
that's the only way I see it working.
It would have to be something big.
Yeah, it has to be like, you average like close to 500 kids a year, and, majority pay, some are select teams and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
the best I compare it to is like a volleyball club. That's the only way I can see an academy working like that. Same with how these big, powerful volleyball clubs take local high school girls, and from a bad high school team, you get no recruitment. You play on this, big name volleyball club out here in Atlanta for
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know, 1,500 for the summer. Next thing you know, you got like 20 D1s just off the club name alone. So that's how I see it working on the back.
I
And that's
got
the
you.
only model I know that is legit, volleyball and baseball. So I think basketball has to look to them and ask them, how does that work as an independent structure? And then do that if you want to go that route while combining the ethics of the FIBA format in terms of year-to-year progression.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, one more thing I want to add, and I just thought about this.
Yeah.
If you look at 3-on-3 basketball, we all know that that's how you really learn how to play basketball. As far as
Yes.
the breakdown of everything. And actually, Kobe said you don't learn 3-on-3. You don't learn how to play basketball at AAU because you don't know how to understand three people. But we don't do that well in 3-on-3 basketball. I know my
Mm-hmm.
man Jimma plays that, and but you look at it, they learn overseas. They do a great job of teaching how to play basketball. We just don't do it yet. I don't know why we don't do it yet. I don't know.
You
That's just
know,
me venting. To cut that out, I don't care. I just wanted to get that off my chest.
TJ Tibbs over there at University of Staten Island, we chopped it up a couple years back, and the biggest thing in his development is 3v3 actually.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing he focuses on at SI. When they went from D3 to D2, is like, he said, my biggest thing is like, I know we'll be fine because we do a lot of 3v3 small sided games, and my guys be ready for going from D3 to D2. And, to his point, they were. They pretty well that first season entering into that D2 conference. So
Yeah.
you have to understand, 3v3 because you have weak side action going on while you have strong side action. You have to understand ball rotations, how to help the helper and have one man split both and
Yep.
play the next pass.
Yep.
You have a lot of situations to where like it is going to cause you to communicate more effectively when there is a lot of twirl actions, ghost screens, pitches, handoff, stuff like that. So it forces the three guys on defense to understand where to be, how to properly communicate. Are we switching? Are we showing, hedging? It just forces everybody to like do their job a lot more concise and sharp,
3-on-3.
for sure. But speaking of Jimma, I want to interject this last point because we talk a lot about, the state of basketball and stuff like that, but we don't talk more about the guys that do both at a high level. Guys like, Lee Taft.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how important is it for guys like him to the sport of basketball in terms of, yes, teaching all the fundamentals like you do, but also teaching how to move fundamentally sound and being a better athlete? Like, how important is that for basketball players to have that in their arsenal in terms of a coach that understands movement, speed, agility, and how to train the body?
Well, his biggest case study is
Case
definitely
study.
Jimmy Fredette,
Yep.
unknown regional guy that went to school up in Glens Falls, New York. Turned out to work out with Lee all the time, every day. That's his nephew, I do believe, and then ended up becoming the phenomenon in New York City, in the world, I should say, in the world. And let's
Yeah.
not get it twisted. Let's not confuse what he did in the NBA to what he was in college. He was Kaitlin Clark
Him. Him. For sure.
on the collegiate level. He was
Yes.
that guy, right? He was that guy, and a lot of that basketball stuff stems from Lee Taft, I give Lee Taft a lot of credit. And I met him again when I was college coach in 90 something,
Hmm.
right, early 90s, and the only reason I met him because he went to another school called Castleton State, Castleton State, and we played in a local
Mm.
tournament, and he locked me up, and I was like, nobody's ever done that before, like
Yeah.
you moving your feet a little different, like what's going on. So he broke down what he did and the schematics of everything, and it turns out to be the best shit I've ever heard of. And this is a 93, 94. He's doing cross steps, hip turns back then.
Mm.
Because we were, everybody was taught don't cross your feet, don't cross your feet, but that doesn't make
Yeah.
sense, right?
Shuffle.
So in
Yeah. Hmm.
93, 94, so everyone that's doing it now on that wave now, uh, I don't. Lee Tab was the first one I've ever seen do it, and he just slid his hips, slid, and then opened up his hips and ran, and then beat the person to the
Yeah.
next spot, and then he opened back up and going back the other way. So a lot of that goes into it, and I think that players as a whole need to work on their athleticism, and it starts young. Like you can't become an athlete, super athlete at 19. Like you are who you are. So it starts when you're younger, and you have to make it fun. You have to make it fun first and foremost. It can't be so hard, hard on the kids. So I think that Lee's
Yes.
one of the big and uh, um, not inventors, but one of the most innovative people in doing that. And he's able to transcend all four sports, well, not all four sports, all four seasons: summer, spring,
Yes.
fall, and winter. So he's able to do tennis, baseball, because sports as a whole all starts from your lower end body anyway. You got your trunk, and you have your hips. If the hips are fucked up,
Hmm.
and you're not able to explode, what he I think he had a plyo step. He invented the plyo step or the zero
Yeah.
step.
Yeah.
He was the first one to
Hmm.
popularize that also. So a lot of the stuff that we see now, my man Nasir Jones, the rapper, said no idea is original. Like we see it now,
Yeah.
30 years later, but Lee was doing it back then. It's not a commercial for you, Lee. Cut the check though. But it's not a commercial, but it's more paying homage to what you've done over the time. And luckily, I've been
Nah.
a part of that for a long time also.
Yeah. And through you, that's the only way I think he was able to even give me some time of day, just through you as a connection. You know what I'm saying? And I would say the guy's extremely brilliant. The guy's extremely brilliant, man. I was able to have a phone call with him after coaching the tournament, and we
Mm-hmm.
were just breaking down. You know, he was telling me how he got started. He's like, he would just watch movement of every single sport and just watch it live and just take notes and just keep watching, keep watching, keep watching. And then he just kept experimenting. And so he told me, he's like, as you're building your hybrid training model to mix in speed and agility, strength training, and basketball training concepts for a year round thing, he said, just watch a lot of sports, watch a lot
Yeah.
of movement, just
Yeah.
keep taking notes. And he said, you gotta love it. He said, you have to love it.
Yeah.
He said, if you don't love it,
Agreed.
you're something that you're not going to pursue. So one of the most solid individuals in the space because he's very down to earth, very straightforward. And if I ever feel like I'm not doing something right with a drill with a kid, I send it to him, and like maybe the next day or the following or the same day, he's like, "Well, we got to work on this. This kid needs this adjustment, X, Y, and Z." And I'm like, "Dog, like other dudes would be mad. Hollywood say you got to pay me for my time and da da da." Like
Yeah. Yeah.
he's like, "Nah, man." So shout out to Lee Taft, man. One of like you said, one of the best innovators in basketball. And I actually paid for a couple of his stuff, his old joints, and it's crazy that like his old joints are better than some of these new coaches' stuff today. It's crazy.
No, it's crazy to think so, but back then, people actually studied the game though. Like you said, he
Yeah,
studied the game. So I think we he's a crock pot guy where it takes time to
slow
make
cook.
these slow
Yeah.
cook. So he's invested a lot of time into getting it done. Same thing. It's whereas today is now everything's so quick and microwavable. Like you think about
Mm,
you see it on YouTube one time. Now you automatically think that you're a master of it, and I think that's where we get lost at, is particularly in the training space, where people, they just have the keys to the gym and they just think that they seen a drill and that's kind of cool, but they don't break down the drill itself, so they don't know what the fuck they're doing the drill for. So whereas Lee and
mm.
people like that have been doing it for so long, so they're able to tell you exactly why you're doing X, Y, Z, and I think that's important.
Yeah, true. Yeah, because it goes to the age old saying, like, well, I was told growing up by a couple of old heads that, for every decade you are as a man, you're supposed to obviously been promoted or level up in your craft, job, whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's kind of crazy to say, like, we go back to like old days that there were stonemasons and painters and carpenters, right? Like, let's just use that as an example before we head out. How the young boy at 18 is nicer than a carpenter at 48? Please explain to me that.
He doesn't have enough time.
So off of that fundamental law right there, you can't you're not gonna be better than him, and that's to your point. Like you got guys my age or a little bit older, younger. Let's just say about 4 to 5 years, and they're like, "Nah, old head don't know nothing." Like what I'm saying, like I'm dumb nice, I'm better than him, and it's like you ain't even coach a full decade yet. How? Like what are we talking about?
You're right.
Like you're 5 years in, he's 50. Like are we serious? And his 50 is dumb nice. Like his 50 is crazy.
Right.
Your five is you're riding the coattails of some All American.
Right. So that goes back to the parents vetting the trainer. So if somebody has
Mm-hmm.
50 years of experience in doing it very at a high level, you're going to listen to Johnny Come Lately, who only did it for 2. Like that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Johnny
Like
come ladies and boy.
it doesn't make sense to me. But today,
Yeah,
everything's about flash and glass. I mean, and glitz and glamour and all that stuff. But if you look at the game of basketball, let's go back to the game of basketball.
yeah,
Even on the highest levels, you don't see people doing the drills that these people try to implement these kids to do. They don't do them. Like Pritchett
it's just
from Boston.
actions.
Pritchett from Boston. He has a dumb, crazy hand that we seen the workout. He don't do that shit. He doesn't do it. He that's a 1% type of situation. That those moves that he's doing on other people are doing a 1%. How about let's focus on the 99% of what's being done, which in the game, catching, shooting, making layups, dunking the ball in the NBA level, college level, footwork, all of those things that are going to be guaranteed that's going to happen in the game. Let's perfect those for the young ladies and young men. When they get to the next level, they're able to translate that to the game itself, as opposed to just doing something for the gram. That's why one of our biggest hashtags, we have 2 big hashtags, 3 really. Team get better, make basketball great again, and
Mm-hmm.
made for the game, not the gram. Like we try to do things that you're going to do in the game itself. That's
Yeah,
it. But it's boring. No, don't get it messed up. It's boring as shit.
but you gotta love the boring shit though,
You gotta love the boring shit in order to get to the next level.
and
There's
that's
no
for
next
anything,
there's no
man.
next level without the boring shit.
Nah, I mean that's for anything. I think you have to a certain degree find enjoyment in nothing. That makes
It's boring.
sense. You have to yeah, you got to find enjoyment in nothing. You got to be like, I'm gonna wake up every day and do the same shit and love it.
Yeah, you've never
That's
seen a skyscraper built from the top down. Think about that
it's
shit.
built from is come on, and each level is repeated from the foundational level. It's the same process. It
Yep.
is rebar. It is saying welding is whatever else they're gonna use for level one, level two, level three, level four, all the way level 100 before
Yep.
they cap it off.
Yep.
It's the same process. So is falling in love, as cliche as we use this term, but it's actually falling in love with the process.
Yeah. It's a tough process. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, that's why you kind of gotta go in your Kobe shit and just like find some different type of crazy motivation to keep going because it is a tough process.
It's a tough process. But
for
if
sure.
by chance and I think on my level, now I've had NBA guys and all that stuff. I think that my level is to get now a college scholarship. If I could get to a college scholarship or something like that, or go to college, Division 2, 3, whatever, I'm more proud of that than anybody make it to the NBA. Not even close.
I agree. I agree. It's all about changing lives. Scholarship is more important now than ever in this economy, and making sure these kids get free education, and more importantly, the connection. And you said it already as like an endpoint too. Majority of companies that see your background that you play collegiate athletics, they're gonna hire you first because they
Yep.
know that you're disciplined.
Yep. I wrote regardless. Again, and I did a blog on it maybe like a year and a half ago. I need to rebring that one back. But employers employ athletes first and foremost because of our ability to adapt, work
Mm-hmm.
hard,
Mm-hmm.
take criticism,
Mm-hmm.
understand that you can work in an autonomous situation, and you're going to have some type of personality to a certain extent. All of those
Yeah.
characteristics translate any profession. You could be fucking work for
Mm-hmm.
Sears or whatever, and still be able to be adaptable to it. So all those things are important, and the athletes go first.
Nah, that's valid. That's valid. I think we covered a lot. I'm glad I hit the record button on this one this time, unlike previous session. We covered everything and finished right on time, so I can head out there and go coach this practice. But I appreciate you as always for
Thank
hopping on here, and also for a lot of off the camera stuff too, man. Appreciate your wisdom and all and your guidance as well.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me again.